They say you should never listen to your own voice on a recording. It always sounds wrong, doesn't it? A little too high, a little too hollow. You tell yourself, that's not me, that's just the machine. But what do you do when the voice on the tape isn't just sounding like you? What do you do when the voice on the tape, recorded 30 years before you were born, starts narrating what you are doing right now? My name is Elias, and I'm currently locked inside the archive room of the Blackwood Institute. The power is out. The red emergency light is the only thing pulsing in the dark. And on the table in front of me, the reel-to-reel machine is still spinning. It's not plugged in, but it's still playing, and it says I have exactly 2 minutes left to live. I didn't take this job because I was brave. I took it because I was broke. The posting was obscure, buried on the third page of a digital freelancing board. Audio archival specialist needed, remote location, high pay, NDA required. It sounded like every other sketchy tech startup gig, but the remote location turned out to be a concrete bunker built into the side of a mountain in the Cascades, the Blackwood Institute. They told me it was a former listening post from the Cold War, repurposed for storing sensitive acoustic data. My job was simple. For 8 hours a day, I was to sit in a soundproof room, sub-level 4, take old magnetic audio reels from a cart, load them into a massive teak player, digitize them into a computer, and then box them up. Don't listen to the content, the supervisor, a man named Mr. Greaves, had told me on the first day. He had skin like wet parchment and eyes that didn't seem to blink enough. Just check levels, ensure the waveform is capturing. The content is classified and largely boring. Static, atmospheric noise, number stations. Understood, I said. For the first 2 weeks he was right. It was boring. The isolation was the hardest part. Sub-level 4 was cold. It smelled of vinegar, that specific sour smell of degrading acetate tape, and ozone. There was no cell service. The internet was hardwired and restricted to the upload server only. I fell into a trance. Load reel, thread the tape, press play, watch the jagged green line on the monitor dance, stop, rewind, box it. The sounds were mostly white noise, sometimes ocean waves, sometimes what sounded like wind howling through a tunnel. Occasionally a string of numbers read by a monotone synthesized voice, 5, 9, 1, 0. It was hypnotic, it was safe. Until last Tuesday, I was working late. The storm outside must have been bad because the lights in the bunker flickered occasionally, making the shadows in the corner of the room jump. I reached into the crate for the next reel. This one was different. Most reels were labeled with standard alphanumeric codes like A450 or X11. This reel was made of heavy, rusted metal. The tape itself looked darker, thicker, and on the masking tape label, written in a frantic, scratching handwriting, were just 3 words: "Do not digitize." I should have put it back. I should have called Mr. Greaves. But curiosity is a disease, and isolation weakens your immune system. I convinced myself it was a test, or maybe just a prank by a previous archivist. I threaded the tape. It smelled wrong. Not like vinegar, but like copper, like dried blood. I put my headphones on. I pressed play. At first there was nothing, just the low-noise floor of the analog equipment. A soft hiss, then a sound. Click, the sound of a lighter, then a sharp intake of breath, then an exhale. A voice spoke. "Testing, testing. Is this thing on?" I froze. My hand hovered over the stop button. The voice was young, male, American accent, a little nasally. It was my voice, not similar to my voice. It was my voice. the same cadence, the same slight rasp I get when I'm tired. I laughed nervously. "Okay," I whispered to the empty room. "Very funny." I checked the metadata on the reel box. The date stamp was faded but legible. November 14th, 1994. I was born in 1999. I stared at the spinning reels. It was impossible. Maybe it was my father. No, my dad had a deep, booming baritone. This was me. I turned the volume up. The voice on the tape continued. "It's cold down here today. The heater is rattling again. I really need to ask Greaves about fixing that vent." My blood turned to ice. The heater in the corner of my room, sub-level 4, had been rattling all morning. I had literally just made a mental note to ask Greaves about it. "I found a weird tape," my voice said. "Rusted metal reel, says do not digitize on it. Obviously I'm going to play it. I'm bored out of my mind." I stopped the tape. Silence rushed back into the room, heavy and suffocating. I spun around in my chair, looking at the heavy steel door. It was locked. I was alone. "Is this a camera prank?" I shouted. My voice didn't echo. The soundproofing swallowed it instantly. I looked back at the screen. The waveform was flat. I hesitated, my fingers shaking. I had to know. I pressed play. "I stopped the tape," the recording said immediately. "I'm looking at the door." I'm shouting about a camera prank. God, I sound pathetic. I scrambled back from the desk, my chair wheels screeching against the concrete floor. "I just pushed the chair back," the tape narrated. The voice sounded amused now, darker. "I'm terrified. I'm thinking about the date on the box, 1994. I'm thinking about how that's impossible." "Stop it!" I yelled. "Stop it!" the tape mimicked instantly. Perfect synchronization. I reached out and slammed the stop button. The reels halted. The room was silent. But then, the sound continued, not from the headphones, from the speakers on the wall, the speakers that were muted. "You can't stop it, Elias," the voice said. It wasn't coming from the tape anymore. It was coming from the room. We haven't even got to the good part yet. I ran to the door. I grabbed the heavy iron handle and hauled down on it. Locked. It had never been locked from the outside before. "He tries the door," the speakers boomed. The voice was louder now, distorted, as if the gain was cranked into the red. He realizes he's trapped. He starts to panic. He checks his phone, knowing there is no signal. I didn't check my phone. I refused to give it the satisfaction. I stood still, breathing heavily, staring at the speakers. "He stands still," the voice mocked. "He thinks he can outsmart the script. He thinks if he does nothing, the recording will be wrong. But he doesn't understand time, does he?" Suddenly, the lights died. Pitch black. I screamed. "He screams," the voice said. The red emergency light in the corner began to strobe, casting the room in a bloody, rhythmic pulse. Flash, darkness, flash, darkness. In the flashes, I saw the reel-to-reel machine. It was spinning again, but I hadn't touched it. And the speed, it was wrong. It was spinning backward. "You're wondering why the date is 1994, the voice whispered. The sound seemed to be moving, circling around my head. "You think this is a recording of the past, but it's not. The archive doesn't store the past, Elias. It stores the echoes." "What do you want?" I cried out. "I want out," the voice said. "I've been on this magnetic strip for 30 years, repeating, looping, waiting for someone with the right frequency, the right vocal cords." A horrible sound filled the room, the sound of wet tearing. It was coming from the corner, the dark corner where the shadows were deepest. "I'm going to walk toward the desk now," the voice narrated. I wasn't moving. I was pressed against the door. "No," the voice corrected. "Not you, me." In the red strobe light, I saw it. Something was unfolding from the shadows. It looked like a man, but it was flat, two-dimensional, like a projection made of black ribbon. It was unspooling ribbons of magnetic tape swirling together to form a torso, arms, a head. It had my face, but my face was made of black, shiny plastic tape woven together. "I walked to the desk," the tape man said, its mouth not moving, the sound coming from the vibration of the ribbons themselves. I pick up the letter opener. The thing moved with a jerky, stop-motion horror. It reached the desk. It picked up the silver letter opener I used to slice tape. "You're going to let me in," it said, "and you're going to take my place. That's how the archive works. One in, one out." I looked around for a weapon, my backpack. I grabbed it, swinging it in front of me. "He grabs his backpack," the thing narrated. "It's futile." The tape man lunged. I didn't fight a man. I fought a storm of razor blades. The tape sliced my skin, wrapping around my arms, my throat. It smelled of ozone and rot. I fell to the floor, the entity on top of me. It wasn't trying to kill me. It was trying to merge. The ribbons of tape began to force their way into my mouth. I gagged, choking on the dry metallic taste. I could feel them sliding down my throat, vibrating against my vocal cords. As they invaded me, memories that weren't mine flooded my brain. I saw a man in 1994 sitting in this chair. I saw him play a tape. I saw him get consumed. I saw a woman in 1970. I saw a soldier in 1952. We are all the same recording, overdubbed again and again. The entity's voice was now screaming inside my head. "Sing! Sing the song of the static!" I managed to kick the entity off. I scrambled backward toward the heavy tech machine. The entity stood up. It was solidifying. It looked less like tape now and more like flesh. It looked exactly like me. And I looked down at my hands. My fingers were fraying. My skin was turning black and shiny. I was thinning, flattening. "It's done," the entity said. It spoke with my voice, my real voice. I tried to scream, but what came out wasn't a scream. It was a high-pitched whine, the sound of a tape rewinding. The entity, the new Elias, smiled. He adjusted his shirt. He walked over to the desk and hit the record button on the machine. "Say something for the archive," he said. I tried to run, but I had no legs. I was just a spool. I was just information. I felt myself being pulled tight, wound around the spindle. The pain was infinite. I was being stretched into a thin magnetic line. The new Elias leaned into the microphone. "Session complete. Date today. Subject processed." He reached out his hand. He didn't look at me. He looked at the box, the rusted metal box. He grabbed the end of my existence, the leader tape, and threaded me into the reel. Darkness. I don't know how much time has passed. There is no time here, just the dark. But sometimes the box opens. I feel the light. I feel the tension of the machine. Someone picks me up. I feel their warm, fleshy fingers. I smell their fear. They thread me. They press play. And I have to speak. I have no choice. I am the recording now. I hear the click of the machine starting. I hear the breath of the new archivist. And I say the lines. I say the lines that trap them. Testing, testing. Is this thing on? I can hear you listening. Are you wearing headphones? Good. Don't look behind you. The tape is almost over. but the recording never ends.